Unlock your strength. Start every day ready to conquer life's dark challenges in 2025. In a world on the brink of chaos, where shadows flicker ominously at the edges of every dawn, one woman stands ready to change everything. The air is thick with a palpable energy, as if the universe itself holds its breath. Her name is Lena Mallory, an ordinary girl who, just days away from her 25th birthday, suddenly discovers she possesses an extraordinary gift. It was a muddy night in early March when the storm rolled in, turning the streets into rivers of chaos. A crack of lightning lit up the night sky, illuminating her home, just for a heartbeat. For that brief moment, she saw the figure, the one who would send her life spiraling into the extraordinary. Lena was not alone in that moment. The neighbors were peering out, eyes wide with fear and excitement. Whispers flitted like bats through the darkness, charging the night with tension. "Did you see that?" One woman gasped, clutching her baby to her chest. "I could have sworn it was him." Lena's chest tightened, heart pounding like war drums. What was it? Who was that shadow? The fear didn't just cling to her skin, it seeped into her bones. Little did she know, the figure lurking outside her window was more than mere figment. He was the key to unlocking her hidden strength. As days passed, the strange occurrences escalated. Items in her home moved on their own. Her coffee brewed itself, and doors creaked open without touch. Friends began to avoid her, their eyes filled with an unsettling mix of fear and fascination. "You hear those noises, right?" they murmur, glancing over their shoulders. Each passing hour wrapped her in a shroud of mystery. Was she cursed? Or was she chosen? Before we continue, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Then, as the moon hung heavy in the sky, Lena encountered the figure again, this time face to face. His eyes, a swirling vortex of dark energy, pulled her in, promising answers to questions she hadn't known she was asking. Her breath hitched, and in that single second, everything changed. "You've been expecting me," he whispered, voice like gravel, sending chills racing down her spine. Was he a harbinger of doom or a guide to her true power? With her heart thundering in her chest, Lena took a step closer, drawn like a moth to a flame. The shadows danced around them, a living tapestry of fear and yearning. She stood on the precipice of discovery, but could she embrace the unknown without losing herself? Whatever lay ahead could either unlock her greatest potential or seal her fate forever. The choice was just beginning to unravel. A silence hung heavy in the air, wrapping around Lena like a suffocating blanket. The figure's eyes bore into hers, and though she felt drawn to him, the dread coiling tightly in her stomach reminded her she stood on dangerous ground. "What do you want from me?" she managed to rasp, her voice almost lost in the oppressive night. The figure let out a low chuckle that reverberated through her bones. "I want to show you what you are truly capable of," he said, his voice an intoxicating mix of danger and allure. "But first, you must understand the darkness that surrounds you." Suddenly, the shadows flared, illuminating fragments of a battle raging in the distance. Buildings crumbled, cries echoed, and Lena's heart raced. This was no ordinary night. It was a glimpse into what could come if she didn't act. Fear clawed at her insides. I don't want this," she stammered, stepping back as the scene faded, replaced again by the moonlit stillness of her yard. "Refusing it will not change your fate," he said sharply, urgency rising in his tone. "You may feel cursed, but you are far from it. You have a power that can shift the tides." Lena glanced back at her house, its comforting facade now twisted by uncertainty. Her life had already been upended, friendships unraveling, whispers following her like a shadow. She couldn't ignore the whispers anymore. Couldn't hide from what was awakening within her. The figure's magnetic gaze held a challenge, and for the first time, Lena felt an ember of defiance flare in her chest. "What power?" she demanded. "What do I need to do?" "Face the shadows," he urged, stepping closer. "Embrace them. Each one contains a piece of you waiting to emerge. His hand flicked toward the woods at the edge of her yard, where darkness loomed like an unbroken promise, thick and menacing. You have to confront your fears, Lena. Only then can you truly understand your strength. Hesitation gnawed at her, but the intensity of his expression ignited a spark of determination. But what if I fail? She whispered, her voice barely louder than the rustle of leaves. Failure is part of the journey. Just remember, the light and the dark coexist. You must balance them to conquer what lies ahead. He paused, as if weighing the gravity of his words. And you won't be alone. What do you mean? Fear trickled into the corners of her mind. His lips curled into a cryptic smile. There are others like you. You will need them. Before she could respond, the figure turned abruptly, the shadows retreating as he slipped into the night. Left alone, Lena's heart raced. The weight of what she might have to face settled over her like a storm cloud. And as the wind howled softly through the trees, she felt a new determination bubbling up. Steeling herself, she headed toward the woods, each step a battle against her own doubt. Was it really worth it? The stakes were high, but something inside her whispered the answers she sought lay just beyond the trees. Without looking back, she stepped into the darkness, a choice that could either cement her fate or set her free. What awaited in the shadows? Was she ready to confront whatever lurked in that looming abyss? Only the darkness could tell. The woods closed in around Lena, the darkness enveloping her like a shroud. As her heart hammered against her ribs, each step seemed heavier than the last. The air was thick, charged with an electricity she couldn't quite understand. Twigs snapped beneath her feet, the sound a sharp reminder of her isolation. Was she truly ready for this? Panic flared, but the thought of the figure's eyes urging her on kept her moving. She pushed deeper, branches clawing at her arms and face, leaving stinging reminders of her defiance. The cool breeze whispered against her skin, a voice of encouragement or a warning. Suddenly, she halted. Nothing but silence surrounded her, pressing down like a weight. But then, a rustle broke through. It was a faint sound, but in the stillness, it drew her attention. "Hello?" she called, her voice trembling. No response, just the whisper of the wind through the trees. She squinted, trying to pierce the blackness. Was she alone? The thought sent an icy chill down her spine. "Get a grip, Lena," she whispered to herself. "You have to do this." With newfound resolve, she took a few more steps, and then a flash of movement. Something darted behind a tree, pulling her gaze. Fear jolted through her, and she instinctively took a step back. Who's there? No answer, just the rustle of leaves. The shadows seemed to thicken around her, morphing into phantoms of her imagination. Was it the power the figure spoke of bubbling to the surface, or was it the fear entwined in the darkness? But then, she saw it, a flicker of light. A small, glowing orb danced in the air, casting an eerie glow. It was delicate, like fireflies on a summer night, but more vibrant, pulsating with energy. "What are you?" she asked, almost entranced. The orb floated closer, surrounding her in warmth. It beckoned her forward, and against her better judgment, she followed. As Lena stepped further into the heart of the woods, the path emerged, illuminated as if it demanded her trust. With each step, her surroundings began to shift. The trees transformed from jagged silhouettes into majestic giants, their bark glistening with life. The oppressive weight began to lighten, replaced by a hum of energy that vibrated through her body. "What is this place?" she whispered. And then, a voice sweet and haunting, like an echo of her own fears, spoke from the shadows. "Welcome, Lena. You've come seeking strength, haven to you?" She turned, her heart racing. Emerging from behind a massive oak was a figure, contrasting yet familiar, his presence fierce yet comforting. "Who are you?" she demanded, defiance creeping back into her voice. "I am what you have feared and what you must embrace. Like you, I have fought through the darkness. You are not alone, Lena." Her breath caught, both intrigued and terrified. "What do you mean?" The figure stepped closer, the soft glow illuminating his face. "You have friends waiting for you, ready to fight alongside you. But first, the fears you carry must be confronted." As the chill of uncertainty crept back into her chest, the energy from the glowing orb surged, pushing her forward. Could she trust this new ally? What would it mean to face the shadows of her own making? Just then, A low growl echoed through the woods, reverberating through the ground beneath her. Lena froze, her ears straining as the air thickened with tension. The shadows shifted, and she realized something dark and terrible was near. "Get ready," the figure warned. "It's coming for you." What was lurking in the depths? Was this the test she had been waiting for, or the end of all hope? The night was still young, but Lena's fate was already unfolding. Lena's heart pounded in her chest, the deep growl echoing through the trees, a chilling reminder of what was at stake. She could feel the figure's presence near her, a steady anchor amidst the chaos of her thoughts. The warmth from the glowing orb enveloped her, soothing the trembling in her limbs, yet that was not enough to quell the rising fear. "What is it?" she whispered, staring into the shadows where only moments ago the figure had stood. But he was gone, leaving her alone once more with only the sinister sound approaching. The underbrush crackled, the growl morphing into something more primal, a warning, a threat. The air was suddenly electric, each breath causing the fine hairs on her arms to stand on end. Lena clenched her fists, battling panic as the ground beneath her slightly trembled with every step the unseen beast took. "You can't break now," she reminded herself. The fierce light of the orb pulsed, as if sensing her determination. Lena instinctively reached for it, feeling an unusual strength radiate through her fingertips. "I am not afraid," she declared, her voice stronger than she felt. In answer cracked the silence, a deafening roar that sent a wave of cold dread over her. No more hiding. This was her moment. If she wanted to conquer the darkness, she needed to confront it head-on. The shadows thickened before her, twisting and swirling, and from within them emerged a monstrous figure. It loomed larger than any nightmare she'd ever faced, its eyes glowing like red coals, its jagged teeth glistening in the orb's light. Lena could feel the terror exhaust her, but the flicker of hope inside her pushed her forward. "Show yourself," she shouted, the words echoing with more bravado than she felt. The figure hesitated, tilting its massive head as if considering her. The growl faded, replaced by a chilling silence. Lena steeled herself, clenching her jaw as she took a deliberate step closer. The beast remained motionless, unnaturally still. "You feed on fear, don't you? That's what you want." She was talking to something more than just a creature. She was confronting her own insecurities personified. With her heart racing, she took another step, hands trembling but determined. "You're not real. You can't control me." The beast suddenly surged forward, a chaotic mass of shadow and rage, but Lena stood firm. The orb pulsed wildly, a shield of light crackling between them. "No," she yelled, feeling an energy she hadn't known she possessed surge through her. The light expanded, enveloping the beast momentarily, blinding her for an instant. When it faded, the creature howled in something that seemed like pain. The moment hung in the air, suspended between triumph and fear. Lena gasped as an overwhelming warmth filtered through her. She realized that she was the light. The energy she felt wasn't just from the orb. It was part of her waiting to be awakened. But suddenly, the shadows behind her shifted. She turned, catching a glimpse of another form materializing in the darkness. A figure akin to the one from before, but this one looked different. Taller, perhaps, and cloaked in a veil of more shadow than light. "Lena," it called, a voice laden with urgency and intent. "You're not done yet. The true battle is just beginning." With fear coiling back into her stomach, Lena tried to breathe as the flickering orb began to fade. She had pushed through one challenge, but was she ready for the next? What awaited her in the dark? Was this another manifestation of her fears, or an ally she had yet to recognize? The air thickened again as anticipation swelled, the weight of her choices pressing down like heavy stones. The night was far from over, and Lena found herself standing at the precipice of an entirely new nightmare. Lena's pulse quickened as the figure stepped closer, the shadows swirling around it like a living halo. There was an unsettling calm about it, a feeling that this wasn't an ordinary creature. The air smelled damp and cold, clinging to her skin like a warning. "You've awakened something," the figure called out, voice low yet resonant. "Something far worse than that beast." As the words pierced through the stillness, Lena felt a chill crawl along her spine. "What do you mean?" she stammered, The orb's glow dimming as uncertainty took root in her mind. It thrives on despair, your despair, the figure said, its outline shifting, revealing sharp angles that seemed to reflect her greatest fears. You think light can defeat it? Lena looked around, desperate for the reassuring warmth of the orb. It flickered, a heartbeat struggling against the overwhelming dark. I fought it. I can do it again, she insisted, yet her voice trembled. Is that what you believe? Another shadow crawled closer, this one even larger, swirling around the figure as if feeding off the tension in the air. Willpower is not enough alone. You must confront your darkness, Lena. Denial only feeds it. The revelation hit her like a punch to the gut. She had been tapping into her light, her strength, but hadn't fully faced the fear that clawed at her heart. Thoughts raced doubt, loss, moments when she had felt utterly alone. Do you really want to face it? The figure asked, tilting its head with a knowing look. The shadows shifted, revealing grotesque faces that emerged from Lena's memories, snippets of failure, betrayal, all intertwined with her deepest insecurities. Lena took a shaky breath. No more hiding. I need to get through this. With that statement, the figure's form twisted, blending into shadows that brushed against her skin like cool air. It faded slowly, but not before leaving Lena a final glance filled with depth. Remember, darkness fears the truth. Know your truths, or you will succumb to the void. Her heart thudded at the urgency of its parting words. The last tendrils of shadow pulled back as the deep growl returned, echoing from the depths of the forest. Was that beast still lurking, waiting to pounce? Suddenly, the orb flared back to life, brighter and more vibrant than before. The warmth surged through her once again, illuminating her surroundings as she steadied her breath. I am not my fears, she whispered to herself, the glow reflecting a newfound resolve in her gaze. Setting her jaw, she took a step forward, now aware of what needed to be confronted. The shadows that loomed ahead twisted menacingly, ready to envelop her again, but she stood ready. The growl returned, closer, more urgent. Lena could feel the vibrations in the earth beneath her feet. Come on then, she called out, the orb radiating each word with intensity that echoes in the woods. I'm not afraid anymore. With a rush, the shadows lunged at her, dark claws stretching and grasping. But Lena was done with backpedaling. The light within her surged forth, meeting the darkness head dash on. As the growls grew louder and vicious, the beast emerged, unmasked in pure terror. This time, Lena didn't flinch. She exploded with energy, trying to engulf the own darkness that lurked within her at the same time. Determined to confront it all, the clash between her light and the depths of shadow unfolded like a violent storm, each thud of her heart sinking with the battle that raged outside. Then she saw the silhouette of something larger and ominous lurking in the periphery, watching, waiting. Was this the true embodiment of her darkness? The pulse of her orb flickered wildly as Lena braced herself. What awaited her in the depths of this encounter? Would she find strength or succumb to the shadows once more? The moment the beast lunged, Lena felt every hair on her body stand on end. The shadows crashed against her light, an electrifying surge that lit up the clearing. She was engulfed in chaos, darkness clawing at her, but the orb remained strong, brighter than ever, a beacon in the tumult. The creature's growl vibrated in her bones, a sound so steeped in anguish that it rattled her core. Lena wasn't just fighting for her own survival. She was wrestling with everything that had haunted her, the memories of every moment she felt insignificant, every failure that tried to define her, and every whisper of doubt that told her she wasn't enough. Face it, she shouted, her voice ringing clear against the echoes of fear. You don't own me. With that declaration, the shadows peeled back, revealing the beast fully. The grotesque form twisted, its sharp teeth glinted in the orb's light. The eyes were dark pools of rage and sorrow, reflecting the depths of despair she had wrestled with all her life. It was not just a creature, it was her fears manifest, a physical representation of everything she was trying to escape. Why do you resist? It snarled, its voice a haunting echo that clawed at her mind. I am you, Lena. You are not stronger than your darkness. No, you may be a part of me, but you're not who I am, she screamed. With each word, she reached deep within, drawing on a well of resolve she didn't know she possessed. Energy coursed through her body as the orb pulsed with a blinding light. Rays burst from her, illuminating the clearing, piercing through the shadows that had swirled for far too long. The light pushed back against the beast, pushing it away from her, but not destroying it. She was learning facing it didn't mean obliterating it. It meant acceptance. Enough, she cried, raising her hands as the orb expanded around her. You can't control me anymore. Tendrils of light wrapped around the darkness, dissolving parts of it, but not without the beast's roar. The sound was an echo of sorrow, a mix of rage and despair that made her heart ache. But Lena stood her ground, even as the beast fought against her light. I see you, she added softly, her voice now steady despite the chaotic energy swirling around her. I know your pain, but you don't have to win. I can be stronger. In that moment, the beast hesitated, its dark form quivering as the brightness enveloped it. For a heartbeat, silence fell between them, the shadows and the light battling for supremacy in a silent standoff. And just as Leah felt the first spark of hope igniting inside her, the larger silhouette loomed nearer, a dark shape that made her blood run cold. It was watching, a much more potent embodiment of terror that made the original beast seem small by comparison. More is coming, it whispered, its voice slipping into her thoughts like ice. You think you've conquered? This is just the beginning. Lena's heart raced, caught between the remnants of her fears and the flickering hope she clung to. The grip of dread tightened around her. She had come this far, but now, faced with this new threat, Lena realized her battle was only just beginning. The light flickered once more as she gazed into the depths of the encroaching darkness. What more lay in wait? Would she be able to harness her light, or would the shadows consume her entirely? The shadows continued to shift, and the weight of the unseen figure loomed over Lena like a dark cloud. She gripped the orb tighter, its warmth pulsing against her palm, reminding her of the light she contained within. But the rising darkness urged her to falter. Don't look away, she whispered to herself, though her voice trembled. She could feel the larger beast's presence like a thunderstorm on the horizon, an inescapable sense of dread that stole her breath. Each moment stretched, the air thick with the tension of an impending storm. Your light is nothing, the deeper voice coiled through the air, rich with malice. You will fail just like everyone else. It's inevitable. Lena shook her head, fighting against the encroaching despair. I'm not everyone else, she shouted, pushing back against the fear seeping into her mind. I've survived. I've fought for every breath, every step. The ground trembled beneath her feet, and the shadows twisted violently in response. The beast's shape morphed, growing larger with each heartbeat, as if feeding off her defiance. Its roar thundered through the clearing, resonating within her chest, a symphonic blend of rage and desperation that threatened to consume her. Face reality. It screamed, a whirlwind of shadows swirling, almost blocking out the flickering light of her orb. You are weak. You'll always be weak. No. Lena's voice broke through the din, stronger now, an anchor amid the chaos. You are not the truth of me. I refuse to let you define me. For a desperate moment, she focused on the orb, drawing deeper from its glow, feeling the warmth seeping into her bones. It wasn't just light, it was her past victories, the moments she had turned fear into resilience. Suddenly, the shadows recoiled as she released a burst of energy, a radiant wave that rippled across the clearing. The air crackled, illuminating the dark figure surrounding her. For a fleeting second, she could see its ghastly features, twisted and distorted, a reflection of her own self-loathing and pain. But there was no time to dwell. The larger beast shrieked, a sound of pure fury and anguish. You think you are special? You will fall. With a shout, Lena thrust her hands forward, pushing the light toward the looming darkness. The orb flared brighter, emboldened by her determination. She began to pulse with raw energy, tethered to a force beyond herself. But just as she felt the tide turning, the ground erupted around her. Dark tendrils lashed out, wrapping around her arms, pulling her closer to the weighty abyss. Panic surged, tightening her chest like an iron grip. Fight it, Lena, she urged herself, almost choking on her desperation. Just as the shadows began to envelop her completely, a voice echoed within her, bravely distinct from the chaos. What will you choose? It asked, calm amidst the storm. Will you embrace the fight? Lena inhaled deeply, her heart racing, each beat punctuating her resolve. What choice would lead her out of this darkness? What would she sacrifice to claim her light, to finally define who she truly was? A deep growl reverberated through the air, pulling her back toward the waiting shadows. Time was running out, and the answer teetered on the edge of her mind. Could she rise to meet the darkness with the strength that had begun to bloom within her? The shadows clawed at her, their desperation palpable. As desperation collided with determination, she faced a choice that could change everything. What if she embraced the darkness instead of defying it? The question blazed through her, igniting the last remnants of her will. Would she find strength in acceptance or be devoured by the shadows? In that moment, the fading light flickered alarmingly close to the brink of darkness. This was her moment of truth. What awaited her if she chose wrong? The darkness clawed hungrily at Lena, wrapping her in its suffocating grip. She felt the anguished cries of the shadows, each one echoing the fears that lived in the corners of her mind. Her heart raced as she battled the overwhelming urge to surrender, to let the shadows pull her down into the abyss. Embrace it, the voice echoed again, softer now yet filled with an unsettling promise. Let go of the light that binds you. Lena's breath quickened. What did it mean to embrace the darkness? Was there power there? Questions swirled, brushing against her consciousness like the wisp of a shadow. She could almost see echoes of herself in the dark, frail, trembling reminders of her past failures. But between those specters was a glimmer of her own strength, hard-won, earned through battles fought in the daylight. No, she shouted, her voice piercing the veil of despair. I want to run. I will not hide. With every ounce of her willpower, she focused on the orb. It pulsed with a fierce light, a beacon amid the chaos. Lena drew on the warmth it provided, feeling its energy surge through her like a river breaking free from ice. It ignited a fire in her chest, urging her to fight back with everything she had. The shadows shrieked, their cacophony rising in pitch as they recoiled. But they regrouped swiftly, forming into a mass of swirling tendrils that darted toward her like serpents. Lena felt their chilling breath against her skin, cold enough to steal her warmth. How could you possibly resist? The deeper voice taunted, darker than the abyss surrounding her. You're just a spark, and sparks fade. In that harrowing moment, Lena understood the true nature of her choice. It wasn't a battle between darkness and light, but rather a clash of acceptance and denial. If she accepted the darkness as part of her journey, could she wield it, shape it into something powerful? Maybe she gasped, I can use you too. With a newfound resolve, Lena cast her arm forward, merging the light of the orb with the shadow's ferocity. The very air crackled with energy as the opposing forces clashed, a brilliant flash of white cutting through the oppressive blackness. It was a fusion, something beautiful, wrathful, and surreal. The shadows shivered, caught off guard. As they collided with the brightness she offered, the blinding wave erupted, filling the clearing with a deafening roar. For the first time, she didn't feel helpless. As darkness and light intertwined, her spine straightened, her heart beat steadily. She was both radiant and raw, the embodiment of all she had endured. But just then, a shattering roar erupted from the depths, a furious primal scream that shook the ground beneath her feet. The earth cracked, swallowing her confidence, and she stumbled back, a grim reminder that she hadn't overcome the darkness yet. What have you done? The voice shrieked, a mixture of rage and disbelief. You've only made it stronger. Lena's eyes widened as the ground beneath her twisted, morphing into a chasm threatening to swallow her whole. This newfound power was unstable, untested, and now it felt as if she were standing on a precipice overlooking the darkest void. Hold on, she screamed, fighting against the pull of the abyss. I can control this. I have to believe. But belief alone may not be enough to hold back the tide. Could she truly master the darkness she had chosen to embrace, or would it unravel her as it had so many before? The terror of losing herself gripped her tightly, the shadows whispering sweetly, taunting, beckoning her closer to the void. As dread sank deep within her. She realized this was more than just a crossroads. This was a battle for her very soul. What would happen if she failed to control the darkness? Time was slipping away, and the shadows loomed ever closer. The ground shivered violently beneath Lena's feet, sending shockwaves of fear racing through her veins. The chasm widened, dark and deep, like a wound in the earth eager to claim her. Every instinct screamed for her to flee, but she stood rooted, the light within her flickering defiantly against the encroaching darkness. "Lena." A familiar voice pierced through the chaos. It was Michelle, her childhood friend, standing at the edge of the clearing, eyes wide and frantic. "You have to get out of there. It's too dangerous." "Michelle, I can't. I need to try," Lena shouted, her words swallowed by the rumble of the abyss. Panic surged in her chest as Michelle's figure flickered like a candle in the wind, the shadows threatening to engulf everything around them. "Don't you see? This isn't who you are." Michelle's voice was desperate, and Lena felt the weight of her words. "You don't belong to the darkness." But what if she did? As her heart thundered, she thought of the sorrow she had carried, the pain that had chained her to the past. It whispered to her in the silence, urging her to submit. Each thought wrapped around her mind like a vine, squeezing tighter until all she could feel was the chilly embrace of despair. "Embrace the darkness," the taunting voice teased, a serpent hissing in the shadows. "Give in. You've always been weak. Let it consume you now." She cried out, fighting the tide of despair. This was more than just a battle with some unseen force. It was a confrontation with her deepest fears, her failures, and all the doubts that lingered in her marrow. Summoning all the strength she could muster, Lena felt the orb surge within her, a blaring light fueled by her resolve. It surged through her limbs, an indomitable fire that warned the shadows to back off. She needed to hold on, to push through this dark invocation. "I'm not weak," she roared defiantly, her voice a fierce growl. "I am more than the darkness you offer. I have a choice." In that moment, the shadows recoiled. They writhed and twisted, but found no purchase in her heart. Lena felt the pull lessening, just for a heartbeat. Hope surged as she began to focus. The shadows were now a canvas, her emotions the paint. Could she design something new from this mess? With determination, she called the light forth more forcefully, weaving it through the tendrils of darkness, binding them, refusing to let them steal her. The ground shook again, but this time the quake felt different. The chasm began to seal itself, the dark tendrils fading like mist under the sun, but then the shadows whispered sweetly, intoxicating in their serenity. "You will never escape us." The deeper voice echoed chillingly, drowning out her triumph. "Your fear fuels us. You are ours." Lena staggered back, doubt creeping in. The shadows were right. They had thrived on her fear for too long. Did she truly have the strength to resist? As the chasm sealed more and more, she sensed something lurking within its depths, a presence stirring angrily, warning her not to forget. Suddenly, a pulsating glow emerged from the darkness, an ominous rhythm that echoed like a heartbeat. Her heart raced faster, fear prickling at her neck. What was this force? Could she really control the shadows? Or was she merely awakening something much worse? "Face it, Lena. It's not over yet." The voice rang out, more powerful, more insistent. Something massive stirred beneath her, the shadows writhing, each ripple carrying the weight of an ancient wrath. Time was running out. "Stand firm," she shouted into the void, feeling every ounce of who she was, powered by that fiery resolve. But could it hold? The ground beneath her trembled violently, and she braced herself for what was to come. Would her moment of power lead her into the heart of the darkness she now feared? Just as she steadied herself for the next surge, a figure emerged from the shadows, tall and cloaked, dread oozing from its very being. Who or what was this embodiment of darkness now materializing before her? And would it extinguish her light? The air thickened, and dread loomed over her like a storm. She had faced darkness before, but this felt entirely different. With her heart racing, Lena prepared for the coming clash, knowing this moment would decide everything. How would she confront the darkest part of herself that was threatening to break free? The figure emerged from the shadows, shrouded in darkness, its outline flickering like a dying flame. Lena's heart thundered in her chest as dread clawed its way through her thoughts. Was this the sinister core of her fears come to life? It stood before her, towering and malevolent, its eyes glowing like tiny suns defined by despair, burning through her defenses. "Welcome, Lena," the creature said, voice dripping with malice. "You've done well to come this far. But remember, every step toward the light only leads you deeper into the dark." Lena's chest tightened. She was prepared to face this challenge, yet the creature's presence filled the clearing with an overwhelming chill. "I will not let you control me," Lena shouted, her defiance stronger than the storm raging around them. The orb in her hand pulsed fiercely, radiating warmth that wrapped her in strength. She felt her power intertwining with her resolve, a bond sharpening her focus. This was her moment. She couldn't falter now. "Ah, the light," the creature sneered, darkness seeping into its voice. "Fleeting and fragile. It's merely an illusion, the light. Your insecurities clutch at you like chains, whispering sweet nothings of strength. You aren't as powerful as you think." "No," Lena shouted, gripping the orb tighter. "You don't get to define me." The shadows swirled ferociously, crashing against the edge of her light as if testing her resolve. They hissed and screeched, each sound a reminder of her failures and doubts clawing at her. "You've always been weak. Just let go." But the fire housed within her burned brighter. "I fought too hard to give up," she declared, channeling the depths of her fury into the orb. It flared, pulsating with her inner strength. In that moment, she recalled every moment of hardship, every ounce of pain that had forged her character, and it ignited her even further. The creature lunged, darkness spilling outwards like an unstoppable wave. Lena focused, channeling her energy towards the approaching abyss. "I am not afraid," she roared. Light surged forward, colliding with the monstrous shadow. A brilliant explosion echoed through the clearing as darkness and light clashed, illuminating the night sky like a meteor strike. Lena braced herself as the shockwave pushed her back, but she remained planted, passionate resolve coursing through her veins. In that maelstrom of energy, she felt the shadows twisting, folding around her light like a sinister embrace. Her breath quickened as she encountered their coldness, but she did not lose herself amid the feral surge. "I am the architect of my own destiny," Lena declared, each word dripping with power. "You have no hold over me." With a primal scream, she released a surge of light far brighter than before. The beast writhed, shadows unraveling under her unyielding force. Lena could feel it weakening, each pulse connecting her deeper to the essence of who she truly was. "No," the creature shrieked, voice wavering amidst rage and despair. "You cannot be free. You'll always remain mine." But Lena was resolute. "I choose my fate. I embrace every part of me, including the darkness." In that stunning moment of clarity, the shadows began to fold into itself, twisting back around the figure while the orb surged forward, enveloping the creature in pure brilliance. The darkness screamed, its form disintegrating like ash in the wind. With a final burst, the manifestation of her fears shattered, evaporating into the night. For a heartbeat, silence descended, wrapping around Lena like a warm blanket. She stood in the clearing, the light of the orb still pulsating, keeping her grounded. The battle was won, but the echoes remained, lingering like a fading dream. Suddenly, Michelle burst through the trees, her frantic energy breaking the moment. "Lena, are you okay?" Lena turned, tears streaming down her face, part relief, part triumph. "I did it. I confronted my darkness. I learned to embrace it." Tears sparkled in Michelle's eyes, and she rushed forward, embracing Lena tightly. "You're incredible." But even in that embrace, Lena understood this wasn't the end. The journey ahead was long, fraught with struggles yet to face, each shadow a reminder of her strength, resilience, and the light she carried. "You want to believe what's out there," Lena said, pulling back to look at Michelle, spirit soaring. "I found out there are others like me." Michelle's brow arched curiously. "Others?" "Yes." Lena's eyes widened. "I'm not alone. We can form a community. Together, we can face anything." They turned to gaze at the woods, where once there was only darkness. Now it was a place of possibility, a realm where each path she and the others would forge would lead towards strength and light. As they took that first tentative step together, Lena felt the exhilaration of new beginnings. The road ahead was uncharted, but full of hope. She had chosen to embrace the shadows, not deny them. And through this path of acceptance, she could finally begin to harness the true power within. As she looked to the horizon, filled with the promise of dawn, Lena's heart swelled with anticipation. This was just the beginning. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Lena's journey. What do you think awaits her next? Don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support matters. Let us keep this adventure alive.